Okay, so a pleasant day, everyone. I hope you're still okay. I hope you're still fine. So last time we were talking about review of related literature and studies. So today we are going to talk about understanding ways to collect data. So we know that we are starting with a research question. So after that, our goal is to answer those research questions. And definitely, hindi naman natin ipapasagot diretso sa mga participants or respondents natin yung mga tanong. But we are going to gather data to answer these research questions. So for us to answer these research questions, we have to collect data. So here are the things that we have to consider. When we collect data in research, we undergo several key steps and methods. This is to ensure that the information that we have gathered is accurate, reliable, and relevant. So these three things are important. So again, accuracy, okay, reliability, and relevance. Accurate in a sense that dapat yung data na nag-gather mo is tama yung numbers, okay? Totoo, legit, okay? It has also to be reliable, that it would stay consistent, and dapat relevant or connected sa, of course, research na pinaperson natin. So here are the research instruments that we have. So we have surveys and questionnaires that you used last year, interviews, focus groups or focus group discussion, observation that you might have had in your practical research one, and then experiments. You could have had this last semester, which you could continue right now, and secondary data analysis. So as a start, let's focus on interviews. So when we're talking about conducting an interview, this would involve a semi-structured interview. So that means you have a structure, but you could have follow-up questions. This can also be considered as involving the exploration of complex issues in depth. So usually when we're talking about interviews, we're talking about qualitative uh, studies. And when we're talking about qualitative data or studies, this is something na malalim or in-depth. Okay? So we have kapag quantitative, malawak. Kapag qualitative, malalim. So unclear questions can be clarified during the interview and can be changed for some subsequent interviews. But for your interview to be reliable and valid, definitely you have to seek for expert opinion. So we have validators to check if your interview questions align with your research questions. And you can provide evaluators with an intuitive sense of the situation. Okay? So for the interviews, an interview is a structured conversation where one participant would ask questions and then the other would provide answers. So you would also see this in job interviews, let's say in television, press conferences, and even in vlogs. Okay, we're in. There's an interviewer, there's an interviewee, there's a person who asks questions, and there's the other one who answers. Okay? So, you see Boy about to hear sabi niya, ikaw na. Okay. So, how to conduct research interviews? So, we have the following steps that we could consider. We have 8 steps. We define the objectives. We choose the interview type. We prepare the questions. We select participants. We prepare for interview. We conduct the interview. We document the interview. And of course, the last part is the analysis of data. So first, we have to define our objectives. And this could be in forms of research objectives or research questions. Kasi dun lahat naman nagsistart. Second, you choose your interview type. So we talked about having semi-structured interview, or we could also have structured, but I would not really recommend having an unstructured interview. And given that, let's say you opted to have either semi-structured or structured interview, you would have to prepare your questions. And these questions should align with number one, which is defining the objectives. And once you prepared your questions already, and then your questions are already ready, you could have them validated by experts. So experts could be, again, practitioners whose field of specialization align with your track or with your major. You could also have a content validator and a language validator. For the content, that person would check the ideas that you were like researching about through those interview questions, habang yung language validator naman, i-check niya yung correctness ng structure of your interview questions and even the grammatical aspect. Then after that, we move to step 4, which is the selecting of the participants. So in the selection of the participants, you select your interviewees, okay? And of course, only have those who are willing to be interviewed, okay? And the next is preparing for interview. So you have to prepare, you have to set your mind, you have to prepare the questions. If your interviewees permitted you to have your interview recorded, you have your recorder with you. Number 6 is conducting the interview. This is when you are present and you ask the questions. Again, before you conduct your interview, seek for permission to record, audio record or video record. And if they refuse, stick with the paper and pen or the taking of notes, okay? Then again, we document the interview. There could be photos as long as the interviewee is willing, okay? And then we analyze the data. That's the very last part, okay? So there. Of course, we have the advantage and the disadvantage of conducting an interview. As mentioned, we have our advantages and disadvantage in conducting an interview. So the advantage of conducting an interview is first, of course, it captures detailed and nuanced information. So you would see how the individual would answer. Yung pagkuno ng noo niya, yung pag-pause niya, yung hesitation niya, dun sa pagbibigay ng information. At the same time, an interview would build trust and encourages open communication. So, unlike a survey questionnaire, the respondent could not ask, could not make follow up, could not like share that much of a detail. And comparing it to interviews, sa interview pwedeng magtanong yung ini-interview or pwede rin namang mag-clarify. This allows for adaptable questioning based on responses. That's why for a semi-structured interview, you could even ask follow-up questions or you could even modify the original list of questions and come up with more meaningful follow-ups, okay? This would also provide opportunities to clarify ambiguous answers. If ever there are some answers or responses na medyo nakakalito, you could ask the interviewee. And then this could offer deeper insights into the interviewee's context and motivations. You would see what drives them, what is the situation, how do they act about the questions, how do they respond to the things that you have mentioned, okay? Pero ang disadvantage naman, of course, it's not always perfect. It's practically first, it can be expensive kasi you practically would have to be in that person's place if in person siya. Although we could have online interviews, it's labor intensive because you are talking to every participant one by one. And let's say it would take you about 15 to 30 minutes to like talk to them, which leads to time consuming. Okay? This could also lead to selective hearing on the part of the interviewer, should they miss information that does not conform to their pre-existing beliefs. So, although this time we have the recordings, but there could be selective hearing based only to what the interviewee agrees with, but we do not want that in the first place. And there could be some sort of cultural sensitivity, especially if we're talking about gender issues or traumas or things that could deal with cultural sensitivity. We really have to be careful in touching this, or we could even like unravel deep-seated issues and traumas on the end of the interviewees. Okay. Do's and don'ts in conducting interviews. First, of course, you have to be prepared and you have to be on time. You cannot be late when you're doing your interview. And please make sure that you know what you're asking about. Second is that you have to listen actively. You have to uh, give follow up questions. You have to show that you understand what's being told. Okay, you could like synthesize the answers at the end of the interview so that the interviewee would be certain that you're really paying attention. You also have to take notes because again, you cannot just rely on the idea that ah, I have my recorder. We don't know what may happen to that recorder. So you really have to make sure that you have your backup notes. Or it's also possible that you won't understand some parts of the audio. If that's the case, you have your notes to clarify. Then you have to seek permission to record the interview. You cannot just like record. You have to ensure that there is permission from the interviewee. And you prioritize your interviewee, okay? They have to go first because again, we're just seeking for their time. We are at the mercy of their permission. And then we have to be respectful. You're not there to debate. You're not there to like judge your interviewee. You're there to gather data and to show respect. And then of course, you do not record without the permission. We maintain neutrality. You don't show that you totally agree. You also don't show that you disagree. You're just like a vessel. You maintain that image of being neutral. Okay? We ensure confidentiality as well. Let's say there were specific uh, answers that you find intriguing, then you told your groupmate about it, chinismis mo, pinost mo, ginawa mong reels, that's a big no-no. We ensure confidentiality. Part yan ng research ethics. And definitely, wag mong stressin ang interviewer mo. Do not stress your interviewer. You're just asking for time. You're just asking for their insights, their inputs. Kumbaga kinuhanan mo na nga ng oras, stressin mo pa, that's a big no-no, okay? So with that, please make sure to answer the evaluation. You could just pause, okay? This would be 2 points each, okay? So answer the questions. These are the first two. And these are the next two. Just like select the letter of the correct answer. And then the last one. Okay, again, you could just like pause the video for you to answer. These are 2 points each. Okay. So here, just also answer true or false, T or F for this part of the evaluation. Okay. So for the next meeting, okay, we'll be talking about quantitative research methodologies. Okay. We would be looking at survey research this time or survey questionnaires. I hope we're clear with that. So if you have questions, just feel free to ask. You could ask me through the comments below, or you could send me a message if you are my if you are my student. I mean, okay. So I hope you understood. You've learned something. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day ahead. Bye bye.